This regular meeting of the Detroit Lakes City Council is called to order, and I'd like you to please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But before we do so, I'd like to just take a moment of remembrance for the 9/11 victims from September 1st, September 11, 2001, right? Thank you. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The minutes of the regular City Council meeting held August 13th, 2018 are before the Council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the Council that wishes to make any changes, corrections, or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for their approval as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held August 13th, 2018. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. The consent agenda is before the Council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the Council that wishes to either remove or add an item to the consent agenda? Dan?
Your Honor, I'd like to remove 7E from the consent agenda.
7E, did you say?
7E. I'd like to request.
Any others? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of 7E being added or removed. I get a look here. Removed from the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion. Motion's made and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 7E. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I will adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comment on the alleged nuisance at 215 East Central Street. Priscilla, if we could have you give a report first, and then we'll open it up for questions and comments.
Hello.
Hi.
I received a complaint about 215 Central Street East from a neighbor on numerous accounts. I inspected August 10th, and I noted that there was a lot of non-compliant violations in the property. There's a camper in the back. There's a lot of items up front, trailers parked in the grass. I did send them a letter, gave them a deadline of September 4th, and it looked like they had done some cleanup, but they just moved it to the backyard. September 7th, I took these photos, and then September 10th and 11th, I've been over there the last 2 days taking photos. Still items in the yard. And then I took photos from the neighbor wanted me to take photos from their backyard. So this is that camper that you can see from the front yard. This is what's behind that camper. There's reports that people are living in the camper. There's snowmobiles, just a lot of stuff in the backyard. So they missed their deadline. They're still in violation. So staff recommendation is to abate.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or would like to make a comment regarding the alleged nuisance at 215 Central Street East? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion by the council.
I'll make a motion that we abate the nuisance at 215 Central Street East according to what Priscilla just presented to us. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to abate the nuisance at 215 Central Street East. And just a question, Priscilla, when we do this, does that give them any additional time to come into compliance, or do we go in there immediately and clean this up?
That can be set by you. You can vote to immediately abate it, or you can give them an additional timeline.
So the motioner and the second that you meant to abate immediately, correct?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there discussion on the motion?
So when we're abating them, what is it that we are, is the camper not allowed to be there because it's parked on the grass? What needs to actually be done?
Currently, the ordinance states that you cannot park the camper in the grass. So yeah, that would have to be removed. The snowmobile trailer, the snowmobiles and the trailer. Most of the items in the backyard would have to be properly screened according to the exterior storage ordinance.
So what's the process of abating? Is it an independent contractor that you hire to do something?
There are
like
two
that?
companies that do this type of work in the city, and I get quotes from them. We haven't actually had to have them go in and remove items yet, because usually people comply by the deadline. This one I'm not quite sure if they're going to meet the deadline. So I believe that would be the process. They would go in and remove the non-compliant items. Do you have any
Yeah, I'll just add to that, essentially we've declared it a nuisance in order to debate it. That means that Priscilla will get quotes, pick the lowest responsible quote for the company to go in and do it. If we're not permitted access to it, we're going to administer a search warrant. So that's where they would come in. Once the property is cleaned up, the cost that the city incurs to do that can be assessed against the tax against the property. That's what the future ordinance is service. So it would go on the next year's tax.
And then the items that are, so you're going to abate these items like our snowmobiles and
We'll have some
camping.
storage costs,
So
and if they want to retrieve those items, they'll have to pay those storage costs.
Further questions or discussion?
I think if it were just one thing back there, if I wouldn't be rising to this level.
To your point, Jamie, I think it's a collection of things and how many complaints we've had over this. And it's been multiple neighbors multiple times that they've been given sufficient time in my eyes that I feel that this requires us to take action.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. And we'll move to the, I don't see anyone in the audience that wants anything adjusted tonight, so we'll go right from the top and we'll move to the Community Development Committee. Chairman Zeman.
Okay, first one, 5A, consideration to resolution approving the final plat of Gold Acres 20306, County Highway 131, PID 08017800. This is a two-lot plat on Floyd Lake. We had the original reading last month. Larry, do anything you want to add to this?
This is a two-lot plat in the city's extraterritorial area. The Planning Commission recommends approval, as does the CDC. It meets all of our requirements.
The committee recommends and I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving the final plat of Cohen Acres at 20306 County Highway 131. Discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next item was 5B. This is the consideration of the resolution to approving a decertification of Tax Increment Financing District 18-1 for consolidated abstract. The committee recommends and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approving a resolution approving decertifying Tax Increment Financing District 18-1. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next item was item C, consideration to resolution approving the certification of tax increment financing for District 21-1 Grover Lindbergh property in downtown Detroit Lakes on the north side. The committee recommends and I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving decertifying Tax Increment Financing District 21-1. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Next item is 5D, consideration to approving a professional services proposal to Short Elliott Hendrickson, SEH, in the amount of $8,200 to provide MS4 reauthorization services. Who would like to give an update on this one? Larry?
I'll do that. We have to reauthorize our SWIP for the MS4 program every 5 years. The last time we did it was in 2013. We have to do it again, and as part of that, we have to revise our stormwater pollution prevention plan, which would this time have to include a segment on TMDLs, or maximum daily loads for phosphorus loading, because of the impaired water that we have Lake St. Clair. So this $8,200 will be well utilized, and staff recommends approval of the proposal.
Okay,
Okay, the committee recommends approval of this, and I so move.
motion has been made and seconded to approve a professional service proposal to, from Short Elliott Hendrickson in the amount of $8,200 to provide MS4 reauthorization service. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Next item is item E. This is for discussion items regarding vacation rental by owners. We've had discussion from this through the tourism committee and so forth. A number of people wanting to rent out properties within the city of Detroit Lakes for some short period, some long period of time. And we're looking at it right now as far as how we want to handle these vacation rental properties. And like I said, it's in discussion mode for this time.
Okay,
If I could just add, Ron, I think we also would like to make sure the county comes on board too.
So we're hoping that the county, because a lot of it's not only in the city limits, but it's county-wide, and hope we can work together and try and resolve a solution to how to handle this rental property by owners.
okay. So no action.
No action, just discussion, and staff's gonna come back with some further recommendations. Next item is F, another discussion item regarding the annexation of ordinance of properties that are 100% surrounded by the city of Detroit Lakes. If you look at your memo on item F there, I'm gonna have Larry kind of give us a little bit of an update on that, and where we're at here on that.
Yeah, there are a couple of properties on the north side of town that are 100% surrounded. One of those is the Cleveland Farm and Adkins Equipment, and the other one is Willow Springs. During our discussion, and if you look at that report, it's been noted that the Cleveland Farm would be annexed in 2018. We do have to wait until after the election to do that. So we will start that process later this year. And Willow Springs is on the schedule for 2020. And so staff has been directed to start that annexation process at the end of 2019 so that it takes effect early in 2020.
The Atkins Equipment property, is that in on that then too, Larry?
Yes.
That's part of that. Yeah. So we got, like I said, this is just discussion right now, but we're just getting information and ready as far as going forward with some annexation. Next item is G.
Ron, can I just address, I think for the council, why I think the council needs to think this stuff is important besides the fact that people are next to our city using city services is it takes 5 years once we annex a property. We've got to wait 5 years to collect the taxes. So, the sooner we can get these annexed, the sooner we can start the property tax collection, which particularly for Willow Springs, I think would be important.
That's correct, because we have to work with the townships and to work all this out, to work out with everybody on it. So it is a process on that. The next item is item G, which is another discussion item in regards to city right-of-ways and ordinance number City Code 302. The city staff is looking at that to see if there's any ways we can do improvements as far as right-of-way as well with that ordinance, and they're going to come back with some recommendations later in the fall here. Going on to item H, we have one more discussion. We're looking as far as landscape ordinances. We have ordinances in place now, but we're looking at updating these ordinances, and we have new businesses, we have new housing projects. We're looking at ways to make the property as presentable as possible with trees, shrubberies, and lawns and whatnot. And like I said, this staff is looking at the upgrade and as far as what we can do to make the city look more beautiful with the addition of new properties. And then the last item, we just go and take a look at item K there. And again, you can see, the city continues having just unbelievable building permit process. And here in the month of August, we had $20 million in building permits. And so far, year to date, from January through August, building permits at $42 million. That compares to last year's January through August of $16 million. So we've got a lot of building going in Detroit Lakes, both big projects and small projects, and it's been very good for the city. And it helps with the tax base, and it makes our city improvements are looking very good, and it makes us able to do things with parks and other social things in the community with the added properties and hopefully new people moving into town. So it's a good deal. I just want to point that out.
Bruce?
As long as you took it off the consent, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is HDC development for 10.4 million?
That would be the assisted living project, 76 units on Highway 34.
Anything else, Rod?
Well, that would be your honor.
All right. Janine, did you have something you wanted adjusted on the agenda this evening? Okay. You just came to see good government in action, right? Public Works Committee, Jay?
All right, item A, we had a discussion regarding the Westlake Drive to Pelican River project. It was just for discussion. We're gonna have another informational meeting to come sometime in mid-October, so stay tuned for that. Item B, consideration to a resolution adopting a sidewalk maintenance policy. Who wants to speak to that one?
We actually did $2,000. We did not get council approval. So again, we went through it, with our staff, we updated it. We're just asking for the really good policy. We are following it right now. Gives us a little background. Litigation showing that we did follow.
Okay.
So Public Works recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution adopting a sidewalk maintenance policy. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item C, consideration to a resolution authorizing a preliminary engineering report for future development of streets and utilities on land on Long Lake Road adjacent to St. Clair Lake, owned by Becker Development LLC, John Berquist. We had a little discussion about that. I feel like we definitely want to get in front of that and do a preliminary engineering report on where streets and infrastructure could go. The city's going to share a little bit of the costs there because just for some future foresight. Public Works recommends approval of that preliminary engineering report, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt a resolution authorizing a preliminary engineering report for future development of streets and utilities on land on Long Lake Road adjacent to St. Clair Lake, owned by Becker Development LLC. Discussion on the motion? Matt?
Is this on, this must be on the west side of St. Clair? Is that where I'm thinking of? Okay, thank you.
North of Munson.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
I'm just wondering, we have costs involved, and do we know what the cost is going to be for the Berquist family, and also do we actually know what the cost for the city share is going to be? Do we have a little bit of an idea?
I don't know that we've pinned out the cost precisely. I've talked with Mr. Berquist. This is a pretty large subdivision, so I would expect outside of this in the city things that we're going to look at that this report might be the category of $8,500. On top of that, we're going to need to do some future planning. Down the road, towards that area, those are costs that we're suggesting that the city participate in some parts of water, water treatment system, looking at sewer flows and things like that. I would expect the city share of this to be probably south of both monuments.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Item D, consideration of setting a special council meeting on September 20th, 2018 at 4 p.m. to award a bid for the DMRA parking lot improvement project. John promised it will be less than 5 minutes. Public Works recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to setting a special city council meeting on September 20th at 4 p.m. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
5 minutes is now in the minutes here too. So.
Nice. We should be good. Okay, item H is consideration to authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Conservation Partners Legacy Grant Program for the $50,000 for the Sucker Creek Preserve. Brad, you want to speak to that?
This is part of the invasive species again, buckthorn, basco, the Sucker Creek Preserve is a great place to come in there and find stuff. It overtakes the native species and we try to get them. The time for $50,000 grant funding and 5,000 matching share, which can be done with labor costs, truck costs, providing any kind of services. Before it's applied for it, we'll find probably out in mid-November if we get it. Before the 2019.
Sounds like a good deal to me. So Public Works recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the submission of a grant application to the Conservation Partners Legacy Grant Program for $50,000 for the Sucker Creek Preserve. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. That should do it, huh, Jay?
Yes, sir.
You know, go to the Finance Committee. Dan? Yes.
First item on the agenda is informational only, but we got a lot of information from our head librarian, Mary Haney, who spoke to us about that facility. I won't go over everything she talked about, but it's just to let everybody know it is a very busy place with thousands of patrons each year. In addition to use of the traditional printed materials, there's programs for adults and kids. Lots of digital services that they provide, everything from downloads to printing. People still need stuff printed off the computer, to help from librarians in using the electronic devices that they've either had purchased or given to them. So it's a great facility with a lot of assistance for people, and I recommend, if you haven't checked it out for a while, go do that. Anybody catch the fun, check out anyway. Had to work for that one. Second item on the agenda. Yeah.
And she also told us that she's going to be retiring in January.
Yes, unfortunately, but
right.
good for her. So yeah. So she's
done a nice job.
17 years.
Can I put a plug in too? I mean, they at the library have been really good about getting these state legacy grants, the art and cultural grants, bring a lot of different people to the library.
Again, very interesting programs that they've got. So. Move on, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is also informational. We just had a preliminary discussion about our special assessment policy in looking at doing special assessments for stormwater infrastructure into developments. And we'll have a recommendation for the full council next meeting on that. Again, all right to move on?
Yes.
Item C is consideration to approving the American Legion campground rates for 2019. The proposed rates are in the packet. They've looked at what the going rates are in the area, recommending a 5% increase overall. The committee reviewed those rates, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the American Legion campground rates for 2019. Discussion on the motion? All in
Dan,
favor?
Dan, it looks like around here that they pull just basically local campgrounds around the area. Did they ever look outside to the Brainerd area to see what they charge, or any other resort towns that may be similar to us?
Not that I'm aware of, so we've only ever asked them to compare with local rates.
Gotcha. Might be interesting just to see in future years if we
could ask them
note
to
that.
do that
Okay.
next year just to see what
Perfect.
what rates that they're having, so.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Item 7D on the agenda is the resolution for establishing the preliminary budget tax levy. The committee's the Finance Committee formed up as a budget committee. We had open meetings, so we were able to include other council members. We met through the month of August, worked with city staff to develop a budget and set a preliminary tax levy for 2019. What the committee's done is recommended a preliminary budget of $23,140,140 and a levy collectible in 2019 of $5,498,426. There's some detail in the resolution that's included in your packet. The committee further recommends that the city designate Tuesday, December 11th, 2018 at 6:01 p.m. as the date for public comment on the 2019 budget and proposed levy. We brought those recommendations forward, and I so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution establishing our preliminary budget and tax levy for 2019 and also designating December 11th, 2018 at 6:01 p.m. as our date and time for our public comment on the budget and proposed levy. Discussion on the motion.
Your Honor, I just have a couple more facts to point out. Didn't want the resolution to get too long, but our proposed budget is $23 million, but we actually that's only a portion of our budget, less than 50%. The liquor, water, electric utility, and wastewater utilities increase that total budget to $27 million. Some of which does come into the city as to offset property taxes. In addition, the proposed levy is an increase of 7.52% from 2018, but 3.5% of that is due to a decrease in LGA, the addition of 2 police officers, and the addition of a part-time prosecutor. 2% of the increase is in debt service, and so the rest is increase in operations, including things like making sure our salt and sand budget for the winter is up because we got word from the Old Farmer's Almanac could be a tough winter. So, but we do want to make sure we keep the streets safe. So, it's a 7.5% increase. 5.5% of that is just absolutely necessary to cover costs that we've already agreed to. 2% again in general operations. But we estimate that this would result in an increase in city taxes of 70 cents on a $140,000 home, which is pretty minimal, and $1.42 on a $250,000 home. That would be the increase for city taxes for 1 year in 2019. So I think the city staff and the committee did a pretty good job of holding the budget to a reasonable level. Thank you.
Okay. Did we vote?
No, that was discussion, and I hogged the whole time. So.
Yeah, you're on a pretty good roll there. Further discussion by the council. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
One more item, we pulled the item E off the consent agenda, and this is basically consideration to approving the 2018 funding request from the Pelican Watershed District in the amount of $25,000 to help offset the cost of herbicide and ongoing study for aquatic invasive species of flowering rush. This is a budget that's item that's paid for from the Food and Beverage Tax Fund, which was passed several years ago to fund several initiatives in the city, including this, and we're using that food and beverage tax to do that. The committee, of course, this is a routine request. The committee, of course, recommended approval of this, and I so moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2018 funding request from the Pelican River Watershed in the amount of $25,000 for the treatment of invasive species of flowering rush in our area lakes. Discussion on the motion.
I just want to say that this is another great example of how this sales tax helps pay for this, and otherwise it'd be incurred on people's property tax that we have people come and visit our city, use our lakes and so forth, and that's all part of cost sharing for this service, and it works out well with the food beverage.
And I hope people remember about 10 years ago the way the lake looked compared to how it looks now. So pretty dramatic change for the better. So further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. That concludes the Finance Committee agenda, right, Dan?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go to the Public Safety Committee. Matt?
Your Honor, everything was on the consent agenda, but I'd like to pass Kelsey Clem to give an update on the proposed police station and moving forward with that.
Yes, Mayor and Council. As you know, we were lined up for the November general election for our 0.5% sales tax vote on funding the police department. Again, we're preparing to do some outreach to get the word out about the proposal and the project. This Thursday we'll be at the Women's Expo. We'll be sharing a booth with Public Utilities. Next week we have Kiwanis coming Tuesday, Noon Rotary coming on Thursday. We also have the United Way, booth of the United Way Community Picnic, is that
Yes.
on Thursday. We also have Morning Rotary coming in October, and we got a few other speaking engagements lined up. So check out the website. Go to cityofdetroitlakes.com if you're looking for more information. We'll try to get some stuff out on Facebook yet this week.
Great. To add to that, if all the councilmen or constituents haven't seen this updated, it's a great read. Kind of puts everything black and white and also lays out the costs associated with this would be. The other thing, I don't want to speak for Chief, but I'm assuming, Chief, if somebody from the community want to set up a walk through the current police station, you'd be open and would encourage that, I would assume?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for doing that. So I believe that's all for public safety.
Okay, thank you. Liquor and Gambling Control, Jamie?
Item 9A is discussion regarding the sale of wine in grocery stores. And even though this is discussion only right now, I'd like to have Kelsey just recap the discussion and the issue, because it could have a potentially negative impact on our community.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we received a letter from Paul Kaspak, who's the Executive Director of MMBA, which is the Minnesota Municipal Beverage Association, requesting basically municipalities to adopt a resolution opposing wine in grocery stores. Last legislative session, there was a bill introduced to allow wine, beer, and spirits to be sold in grocery and convenience stores. I would say almost every legislative session, a bill like this comes forward. But as they kind of ticked off all the different things off the list of different liquor changes, you know, we now have Sunday liquor sales. This is another remaining item that I think you'll see a lot of activity on. So again, basically there's two issues as a municipal liquor store. Obviously there's the financial side, but there's also concern about access and control to those beverages. So the recommendation was have staff draft a resolution. We'll come back to council next month in October.
Nothing else, Charlie.
Okay. Madeline, I believe there's one item on the Public Utilities, or at least one item that's on the agenda anyway.
There is at least one item, and I will call on Vernell to highlight that for us in just a moment. But first I wanted to mention that a number of commissioners and our general manager, Vernell, were at the summer conference for the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association a couple of weeks ago, and Detroit Lakes was awarded a System Innovation Award for our community solar garden, so that's pretty cool. And we also had Vernell elected as president-elect for the association. So he'll be taking over as president in 2 years. And then I'll call on Vernell to talk a little bit about our water rates. One thing I want to comment before he talks about the increase in water rates is that there have been a number of graphs put in your packet, I believe, that show Detroit Lakes has about the cheapest water rates in any of the areas around us. So we just need to keep in mind that although we're having a small increase in water rates, we are still at the very bottom of the price bracket.
So that's in under the memo, right?
Yep. Should be.
Chief, is somebody trying to pick it and attack it? I'm just kidding. Okay. See?
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, in your packet is describes what the proposed 2019 water rates are to be. We had a cost of service study conducted this year by the Sewer Revenue Services and the Territory Delivery. They took a look at what our cost would be, and a lot of this was driven by the 5-year capital improvement plan that's been adopted by the city council. And the rate increase reduces debt service. So small surcharge increase for all the customer classes and a small commodity charge. We did make a change on the conservation. The residential commodity charge must be the first 20 dwelling units, that's going down to 8. But the apartment buildings and multi-family first year residential units developed, that's residential customer with 5 cents meter will see about $1 increase per month. Non-residential meter 5 each will see $1 increase per month. One inch meter will be $3.96. Any other thoughts or discussions or comments on the water rates?
Hearing none, thank you.
Well, I would make a comment. I think when you look at our, so you talk about the commercial rates for now, and you think about a couple of these cities on here that are known for their manufacturing, you know, Marshall and Thief River Falls. I think we can definitely brag to our manufacturers that we're doing a great job for it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're very, very competitive on our water rates. Even going into 2019, we're in good position for helping those folks out.
Thanks, Vernell. So, Madeline, would you need a resolution?
So, the Public Utilities Commission recommends we adopt the water rates as presented.
And that's a motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution establishing water rates in the city of Detroit Lakes for 2019. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. There are some city administration items. Kelsey, did you have somebody from some of the committees that were taking these, or?
I did.
Are you gonna introduce them and then we'll go from there?
That'll work.
Okay.
Mayor and council, there are 2 agenda items related to the airport. Basically what we're doing is granting 2 utility easements. One is on the south side of Highway 10 for the electric utility, and one is a utility easement on the west side of airport property for the electric utility and also for the water and sewer utilities. So there are 2 utility easement agreements that need city council approval. Since the city is a joint ownership of the county and the airport, the county too also had to act on these items, which I believe that they have. So basically we need the city council approval granting the easements to, as half airport owners to the city, because we're the city utility, if that makes any sense.
It does. So, would somebody like to introduce a motion to approve those utility easements?
I'd make the motion that we go ahead and approve the utility easements for the south side of Truck Highway 10 and also the utility easement alongside the west side of the airport
and the subordination agreement.
Subordination agreement.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in, discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We need to appoint a council member to the Becker County Canvassing Board for the general election, and it has to be one of the council members that's not in the ballot. And Ron Zeman is willing to take on that task, and so I'd like to appoint Ron Zeman to the Canvassing Board. I need someone to be on the Food Pantry Board, because Bruce Imholt's term has expired on the Food Pantry Board, so if anyone would like to serve in the Food Pantry, please let me know. The term of Bruce Imholt of the Development Authority has expired, and Bruce has served three-year terms and is not eligible to be reappointed. We need someone for the council to be appointed to the Development Authority, and I'd like to recommend that we appoint Matt Bulkey to the Development Authority. And I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Matt Bulkey to the Detroit Lakes Development Authority. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I have talked to some of these other folks that have appointments coming up, and I don't have recommendations yet. I thought I had somebody for the Police Civil Service Commission, but that might not be possible because of where she lives. And so I hope to have all these taken care of at the October council meeting. Couple of announcements. There's a public input meeting for the proposed street and utility improvements on Willow Street and West Avenue. That will be on September 19th at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. I did want to back up and grab something off Matt's agenda. On October 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. the Detroit Lakes Fire Department will have their open house. You have those good hot dogs too?
You bet, we got all kinds of them.
I'll be there.
And Chief, the new truck is gonna be there as well?
Yep, that'll be there for display and all
Good.
the other things too.
Thank you.
We have a ribbon cutting ceremony at our new pickleball courts at Peoples Park. And boy, those are looking really good.
We're hoping,
They look like they're
town
ready
is
to-
making calls, but we're hoping to have the courts striped and painted before the date, but all weather dependent, of course.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yes.
We have our joint governance meeting coming up on October 2nd. It'll be hosted by Becker County. The 2018 League of Minnesota Cities Regional Meeting is October 3rd in Fergus Falls. If you're interested in attending, please contact Glory. And please note the date and time changes for our November committee meetings due to the Veterans Day holiday. Kelsey, our city staff, are there any other items that need to come before the council tonight?
No, just again, encourage you, the regional meetings, we're looking at the October 3rd meetings in Fergus Falls, so please let us know if you're willing to attend. Registration starts at 2 and we're done at 7, just one afternoon.
Okay, sounds good. Bruce, anything further?
Well, thank you for the moment of remembrance, September 11th, and just my thanks to police and the fire and our military for what they do for us on a daily basis to keep us safe. Appreciate that.
Barb? Jay?
No, sir.
Ron?
I just would encourage what Kelsey just said for the council members to attend October 3rd in Fergus Falls. It's very informational. It's with people in our area that we meet with other city council people and mayors, and you just get a lot of good information out of there, what's happening in their communities, and sometimes gives us some ideas and vice versa.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
There are.
Jamie? Dan? Madeline? Dan?
I have one more thing, Your Honor.
All right.
We had a report in the Finance Committee on bond refinancing over the last 7 years. And the city staff has been on top of that, refinanced a number of bonds. I think it's 8 total. But that refinancing saved the city over $2 million over the life of those bonds. And I just want to thank the city staff, especially our finance officer, Pam Sliska, for being on top of that.
So Pam, that's kind of like refinancing your house at a lower rate, right?
It
is. And we've saved $2 million by doing that. That's great. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience have anything to bring before the council? If not, the business of the council has come to a conclusion and the meeting is adjourned.